She thought she could take everything my husband's father left behind, but she didn't expect me. My name is Alyssa Reed, and I'm 31 years old. The day my father-in-law Dennis died, I cried for hours, not just because I'd lost someone I loved, but because I knew what was coming. Patricia, my mother-in-law, had that look in her eyes at the funeral, the one that said she was already calculating, already planning. 3 days later, she proved me right. When greed speaks too loud, the truth speaks louder. She called Evan while I was in the shower, told him the will reading was scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. When I came out and asked about it, Evan looked confused. Mom said 2 p.m. for us. The morning session is just for immediate family and the lawyer. Immediate family, as if 5 years of marriage made me a stranger. But Patricia made one critical mistake that day. She underestimated how carefully I'd been watching her. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching us from so we know we are not alone on this. Subscribe, like, and share this video. She didn't just dislike me, she wanted to erase me. It started the week Evan proposed. We were at a family barbecue when he got down on one knee. Everyone cheered except Patricia. She smiled for the photos, but her eyes were ice. That night she pulled Evan aside. I heard her through the kitchen window. Are you sure about this? You barely know her background. My background? I grew up in foster care, worked 3 jobs to put myself through nursing school, and met Evan at a hospital charity event where I was volunteering. But to Patricia, I was a threat wrapped in a cheap dress. Some enemies hide in the family photo. The attacks came slowly, strategically. At our wedding, she wore white, not ivory, pure white, and told guests I'd trapped Evan with a pregnancy scare. There was no pregnancy, there never had been, but the rumor spread like wildfire. At Thanksgiving, she served everyone except me, then loudly asked if I was on one of those trendy diets. At Christmas, she gave everyone personalized ornaments with their names. Mine said guest. But the worst came during Dennis's illness. When he was hospitalized, Patricia told the nurses I wasn't family and had me removed from his visitor list. I spent his final weeks waiting in parking lots while she sat by his bedside, probably whispering God knows what into his morphine-hazed ears. That's when I started my insurance policy. Every text where she called me a gold digger. Every voicemail where she told Evan I was dragging down the family name. Every email to relatives painting me as manipulative. I created a locked folder on my laptop. Evidence, Patricia Reed. I didn't know then that it would save everything. She almost pulled it off, almost. The night before the will reading, Patricia finally called with official details. Her voice was sugar sweet. The lawyer needs family there by 9 a.m, blood relatives only, you understand. These things are so complicated. Evan, you'll come alone, won't you? Let Alyssa sleep in. She's been so stressed. Stressed, she said it like an insult. Evan started to argue, but she cut him off. The lawyer specifically said to keep it simple. Too many people complicates the process. I'm only thinking of Dennis's wishes, sweetheart. After he hung up, Evan looked torn. Maybe she's right, maybe it's better if... Call the lawyer, I said quietly. What? Right now, call him and ask if I'm required to be there. If you play with fire, don't forget who's holding the lighter. Evan hesitated, but something in my voice made him dial. The lawyer, Mr. Chen, answered on the 3rd ring. What he said next made Evan's face go pale. Mrs. Reed, of course she needs to be present. She's explicitly named in the will. I told Mrs. Patricia Reed this twice already. Is there a problem? The room tilted. Patricia hadn't just tried to exclude me from a formality, she'd tried to exclude me from my own inheritance reading. Which meant she knew. She knew I was in that will, and she was actively trying to make sure I never found out. That night I didn't sleep. I printed every message, every voicemail transcript, every email. I organized them chronologically in a navy folder with tabs: defamation, manipulation, fraud attempt. By 3 a.m. I had 47 pages of evidence. By 8 a.m., I was dressed in the black suit Dennis once told me made me look like someone who means business. Patricia was about to find out exactly what kind of business I meant. She wanted the room to turn on me, but they turned on her. We arrived at 8:45 a.m. Patricia was already in the conference room, sitting at the head of the table like a CEO. Evan's brothers, Marcus and Tyler, sat on either side of her. Dennis's sister, Aunt Claire, was by the window. Everyone looked surprised when I walked in. Patricia's smile cracked. Alyssa, I thought we agreed. You agreed, I said, taking the seat directly across from her. Mr. Chen required me here. The lawyer entered before she could respond, carrying a leather portfolio that seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. He sat down, adjusted his glasses and opened the file. Before we begin, I need to address an irregularity. Mrs. Patricia Reed, you contacted my office 3 times requesting that Mrs. Alyssa Reed be excluded from these proceedings. You stated she wasn't listed as a beneficiary. That was incorrect. The room went still. Sometimes all you need is the truth, and a room full of witnesses. Patricia's face flushed red. I simply thought, given that she's not blood family. My client specifically named her, Mr. Chen continued, his tone sharpening. In fact, she's one of the primary beneficiaries. Your repeated attempts to exclude her raised concerns about potential will tampering. Marcus leaned forward. Mom, what is he talking about? I placed my navy folder on the table. The sound it made was like a gavel. I can explain what he's talking about, I said calmly. For 5 years, Patricia has worked to remove me from this family. She spread lies about my character, my intentions, and my relationship with Evan. When Dennis got sick, she had me banned from his hospital room, and when he died, she tried to erase me from his final wishes. I opened the folder. These are messages where she calls me a con artist. These are emails where she tells relatives I married Evan for money he didn't even have when we met. And these, I slid 3 pages toward Mr. Chen, are transcripts of her calls to your office, attempting to have me legally removed from today's reading. Aunt Claire gasped. Tyler's jaw dropped. Even Evan, who'd seen some of this, looked shocked by the sheer volume. Patricia stood abruptly. This is absurd. I was protecting my family from... From what? I asked. From the woman your husband trusted enough to leave half his estate to. The room exploded in whispers. Patricia's face went from red to white. Mr. Chen cleared his throat. Perhaps we should proceed with the actual will reading. She planned to ruin my life, but ruined her own. Mr. Chen read slowly, deliberately. Dennis had divided his assets carefully, the family home to Patricia, with the condition she maintain it. Equal shares of his investment portfolio to his 3 sons, his vintage car collection to Aunt Claire, who taught him to drive. And then came the clause that made Patricia grip the table. To my daughter-in-law, Alyssa Reed, who showed me more kindness in 5 years than some have in a lifetime. I leave 50% of my commercial property holdings, the lake house in Cedar Grove, and full control of the Dennis Reed Medical Scholarship Fund, to be administered as she sees fit. The properties alone were worth over $2 million. The scholarship fund had an endowment of $500,000. Karma doesn't need help, just time. Patricia's voice came out as a whisper. That's not possible, Dennis wouldn't, he never told me. He amended his will 6 months before his death, Mr. Chen said. He specifically requested that Mrs. Alyssa Reed not be informed until after the reading, as he feared outside interference. Outside interference. Even from beyond the grave, Dennis had known exactly who his wife was. Marcus looked at his mother with something I'd never seen before, disappointment. You tried to steal from her, from Dad's actual wishes. I was protecting what's ours, Patricia snapped, but her voice had lost its power. She sounded desperate now, cornered. It was never yours to protect, Evan said quietly, speaking for the first time. Dad made his choice, and you tried to undo it with lies. Mr. Chen closed the file. Mrs. Patricia Reed, I'm obligated to inform you that your attempts to manipulate these proceedings may constitute fraud. Mrs. Alyssa Reed would be within her rights to pursue legal action. Every eye turned to me. Patricia's face was a mask of fear and fury. I let the silence stretch. Then I said, I won't pursue charges. But I want something in return. You stay away from my marriage, you stop spreading lies about me, and you never, ever try to erase me again. She didn't respond. She just grabbed her purse and walked out, heels clicking on marble like the closing credits of her own reign. I didn't win with anger, I won with proofs. That night, Evan and I sat by the lake at the house Dennis left me, our house now. He held my hand and said, Dad knew. He saw everything she did to you and he made sure you'd be okay. I cried then, finally letting it out. Not tears of victory, but of relief, of vindication. Of knowing that at least one person in that family had truly seen me. Revenge is strongest when spoken softly. Patricia hasn't contacted us in 3 months. She sends birthday cards to Evan, generic, distant, carefully worded. At family gatherings, she sits at the opposite end of the table and avoids my eyes. The scholarship fund, I've already awarded grants to 6 nursing students from foster care backgrounds. Students like me, who just need someone to believe in them. The lake house has become our refuge, a place where Evan and I are rebuilding something his mother tried to destroy: trust. I didn't fight Patricia because I wanted her inheritance. I fought her because she tried to make me invisible, and some battles are worth the evidence it takes to win them. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.